Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Select Persons meeting for Tuesday, July 1st. We're present here at the town conference room, as well as you can live stream us on YouTube and cable. At this time, we'll do the call to order and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So on the agenda this evening, we have some appointments. We'll recognize any visitors here and items not on the agenda. We'll review the reports, manager reports and financial reports. For new business, we're going to be going over the select board organization, selecting a chair and vice chair for this coming year. We'll go over board liaison positions. We'll discuss the certified ratio, set date for the governance policy public hearing, and the Rain Pond Grant Steering Committee, as well as the Historical Society meet and greet July 17th. We'll go over payables and any other business before we adjourn. So on page 2, David, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, so I understand you would like to join be the alternate for the planning board.
I would please, yeah. I've lived here for 10 years now, semi-retired, sold real estate for quite a long time, and technology background prior to that. Fortunately, now I have the time, and I'd like to give back to the community. I think it's a beautiful place to live, and I'd like to contribute to the direction.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, I said we make a motion to elect David Ford to the board committee volunteer.
I'll second that.
Any discussion or questions for Dave?
Dave, where'd you live before?
Originally, way back, or originally from Massachusetts.
Oh.
Moved to Kennebunk, then we moved to Portland. Spent a number of years in Portland and said, well, it's time to move further north. And we just happened to take a ride up through this way on a Sunday, and I was in the business, the real estate business, but guess what? My wife's found the house.
You trained her well, I guess.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
John DeSantis,
Yes.
Mary Ann Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee,
Yes.
Jackson Learned.
Yes.
All right, by a vote of 4 to 0, you've appointed David Ford to the planning board as an alternate, term to expire in 2028.
Thank you, Dave.
Hey,
Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Also in the room, we have Art Berry, who not only is part of our budget committee, which only meets usually in the beginning of the year, mostly March timeframe, but you are interested in joining the Poland Broadband Committee.
Yes.
Oh.
Excellent. So you want to tell us a little bit about your background or why you want to join this committee?
Sure. I presently was on the planning board and I want to be back on it again. And as far as
I apologize, my mother had an appointment. It was late this afternoon.
Go ahead, Art.
also I was on the
And we did
cable
this because I
committee
was home.
years ago and I wanted to be a part of the new internet system that's coming through. My background is electronics. Years ago, I used to work for United Aircraft down in Connecticut. We built components for the shuttlecraft,
Oh, wow.
the spacesuits and, components. So up here, I worked as a technical manager at Sears for 15 years.
Thank you. I appreciate your service and willingness to volunteer.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move we appoint Art Berry to the committee for broadband.
Jimmy Walker,
Yes.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Mary Ann Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Alvey.
Yes.
Jackson Learned.
Yes.
I voted 5-0. You appointed Art Berry to the Broadband Committee with a term to expire in 2028. Thanks, Art.
Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arshita.
Is that also on the budget committee?
We appointed you at the last meeting, so
Oh,
you're officially,
okay.
yeah, you're already there. For some reason, the application to the broadband committee was overlooked, or we didn't get it, so I apologize.
Do I need to be sworn in for that?
Yeah, if you talk to Judy, she'll,
Judy,
same for you,
okay.
David.
Yes.
So, thank you. Yep, and typically, the broadband committee has been meeting, once or twice a month. There's no meetings in July. So once we get your information, they'll reach out to the chair, which is William Wolfkin. And he'll reach out and let you know when the next meeting is gonna be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Art.
So at this time, manager reports?
Okay. Manager report for 1 July. At the June 17th meeting, I was asked several questions. Where do we stand on the payback for the purchase of Camp Connor? We purchased it for $210,000 in 2018. We meant to pay $14,000 for 15 years. Paid 6 years for a total of $84,000. So far, we owe $126,000. That includes the fiscal year 25 payment that we made. 1 year missed was during COVID. When will the line painting be done? It was scheduled just before the last select board meeting, not done due to weather. It'll be done soon. The contractor's in the area. It's a family business. They come up, they rent a house for the summer and they do line painting in Maine. So, and he does a good job. What is the estimated $29 million building the county is looking at? I spoke to the ASO chief deputy. This would be for a new ASO structure at the old Emerson Subaru location. The county commissioner from Poland and the county administrator are planning to attend the July 15th select board meeting to answer any questions about that. Awesome. Remember the town managers from Oxford, Casco, Mechanic Falls. We discussed the Oxford Dam. The fish screen is now in place. It was hard to find a contractor to install it. The next project will be to address a retaining wall. They have about $100,000 left in their dam maintenance fund. The Maine Waste Energy Board annual meeting. We approved the budget, reviewed financial status and maintenance strategy. VFW 104th Convention made welcome remarks on behalf of the town. The event was held at the Poland Spring Resort. Good event. AvCog Executive Council reviewed and approved IRS reports, various internal policy changes, and joint purchasing, salt culverts and cutting edges. So we're interested in that. Lewis and Auburn Economic Growth Committee, the annual joint meeting with the LA Chamber of Commerce Board. We reviewed business loan status. Poland businesses aren't eligible according to their charter. Overall financial position, which is good. We reviewed an economic data dashboard, which is a new initiative that is available on the LA EGC website. Maine Municipal Association Executive Committee reviewed various building maintenance issues, parking, lot HVAC and alarm system, and discussed how to engage with the legislature on unfunded mandates. We are going to get a third party to review at least one recent bill to make sure that we're correct and that it has a cost, and then probably make a legal challenge. There's a lot of bills that have been passed that are impinging on home rule, and the consensus among the Legislative Policy Committee is that that's not a good thing. And so we're going to see if we can engage on that in a more meaningful way. Road work, we're continuing on Cobath and number 5 road. That work is going well. Westview grinding is the next, followed by paving Cobath, number 5 Westview, and Rang Hill Road. Pardon me, Brown Road will be last. The transportation project, the contractor plans to start work on items that will not impact the transfer station operations on the day the transfer station is closed. Once work starts in earnest, the plan is to keep one MSW hopper open. All of the waste disposal will be open with the exception of recycling during construction. The first thing we should see is our Public Works Department is going to replace one culvert, likely next week, which is the one that comes out from where the roll-off containers are. We're going to cut into that concrete pad, replace the culvert all the way up to the manhole, and that goes across the road and drains down the hill. But that's a good sign. And pending any questions, that's the manager report.
Thank you, Matt.
I have one quick question.
Sure.
Brown Road, are they going all the way to Mechanic Falls?
They'll go all the way to Mechanic Falls, and there's a portion that they're gonna do, let me take that back. I'm not sure they're going all the way to Mechanic Falls.
Wasn't
There's a
sure
portion
if
that
it's-
they're gonna, grind and pave, but it's not gonna be a large section of the road, trying to get ahead of that. So let me,
Gotcha.
I'll owe you an answer on that. Any other questions on the?
More a comment, I'm really happy to hear that the MMA Executive Committee is focusing on the unfunded mandates. That's been a big problem the
Yeah, it
last
has.
few years.
Yeah, so if the legislature wants to impose a unfunded mandate, they either have to have a 2/3 vote of the legislature. That's one way to do it. The other way is to not make it an unfunded mandate, and then they have to fund 90% of it. And so, I don't think they're bad people. They're trying to solve a problem. And, so we'll see how it goes.
I'm glad that they're looking at that closely and challenging it where they can. Any other questions, comments? Financial reports?
Uh, Well, it just so happens we're 100% through the year. We're in good shape. We still have some revenue that we expect to come in. We have some additional homestead reimbursement funds that we expect to collect in early July. The expense report, I won't go into great detail on this, but the bottom line is we've got one more major thing to pay, which is payroll for last week. That runs us about 70 grand. So you can see we've got 288 left in the unexpended expense line, so we'll be fine there. And hats off to the various folks that work in town to make sure that our budget comes out as well as it does at the end of the year. But pending any questions, that's the financial report.
Any questions? All right, moving on. So if you all notice, we have 2 new members this year to the select board. So I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Jimmy Walker and Jackson Learned. You want to take a couple minutes and say hello and introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be back on the board. I served 6 years before, and I tried this planning board out for 6 years, and now I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
How's it going? No, I'm wicked excited to be on the board. It's been kind of a goal of mine to get on. Been trying to get more into the community and trying to base myself into that. And with our companies and stuff, it's been kind of a bigger push for us to get a little more pushed involved. And with Poland becoming more of a community circle around everything, and a lot more from when I was younger. I think it's exciting, and it's going to get people more intrigued to get out there and actually help it out. So, yeah,
Welcome.
thank you.
So, yep, it's a good learning experience.
Yeah,
My
for
first
sure.
time serving on the board. I'm going into my 3rd year, so learned a lot.
Yeah, I'm ready to soak it up.
Great. So one of the first things that we do every year is we select new chair and vice chair. This is something that we do annually. So at this point in time, I'll entertain a motion to select a chair.
I I would like to nominate Mary Ann Hawks to the position of Chair of the Select Board for a term of 1 year.
I'll second that.
Thanks, John. Any discussion?
Jimmy Walker,
Yes.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Mary Ann Hawks,
Abstain?
Lisa Albee,
Yes.
Jackson Lerner.
Yes.
By a vote of 4-0, you have elected Mary Ann Hawks as Chair of the Select Board for 1 year. Congratulations.
Thank you for this privilege.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll do my best. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to select a vice chair.
Guess it's up to
I'd
us.
like to
It is up to
select John for vice.
Is there a second?
I would second that.
We have a motion to select John as
Any
the
other
vice chair.
discussion?
Nope,
Jimmy
I'm good.
Walker,
I'm good.
John DeSantis,
Same.
Mary Ann Hawks,
Yes.
Lisa Albee,
Yes.
Jackson Lerner.
Yes.
Congratulations, you've elected John DeSantis as Vice Chair for a 1 year term.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
The other thing that we do on an annual basis is we select liaisons to the various committees that we have in the town. These folks serve as sort of a point of contact to support the committees with any, just with questions, concerns. You can attend these meetings whenever you can. It's just really helpful to keep the lines of communications open, to ensure that, we're all working together as a community. So we have the CEDC, we've got the planning board. With Steve leaving and Stan leaving this year, that leaves some committees that, that's helpful, thank you. That leaves some committees that need some representation. So, this is more, not so much an appointment that needs a vote, right? It's just discussion amongst ourselves to
Yeah, just
determine who would
consensus.
be. Yep,
And I can help go through that. The first one would be the Conservation Committee, Conservation Commission, actually. Does anyone have an interest in replacing Steve on that?
anyone that might be interested?
Jim, what do you think? First one, Conservation Committee, meets second Wednesday.
Yeah, I've been on it before.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm all right with it.
Okay,
Nobody else wants it. I
Any
can,
interest?
I can go.
so Jim's on Conservation. Next one is Community Economic Development Committee. Mary Ann is the current liaison. I don't know if you desire to continue.
I'd like to continue. Yep, I asked Rob to, like, how am I doing? Do you want someone else, someone, a fresh face? And he asked that I stay, because they've got some good momentum over there.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
So,
they do.
so I'd like to stay for at least this 1 more year. That's okay with everybody?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm gonna skip over the Library Committee because I think they're a dormant committee. They haven't been meeting.
Okay.
Planning Board, Stan did that. I believe the way he did that is he would watch the meeting on either YouTube or the next day, and occasionally he would go. But those are fairly long meetings.
Anyone interested in being the liaison to the planning board?
The thing is, I don't know if that's gonna interfere with the Androscoggin.
No
committee
takers
that we're
on
on.
that?
Huh?
No takers on the planning board?
I'm holding out for the next one.
Yeah, I don't know when our meetings are for the Androscoggin budget on that, so I don't know if that's gonna interfere with that.
I
Yeah,
can do,
you're,
I can do planning board.
all right. Thanks, Jackson.
Yeah, definitely.
RSU 16, I think Lisa's ready to do that
I will
again.
continue.
oh.
Yep. What was that?
I was joking, I was like, wait now.
Historical Society, it's one that we we have on our list, but we have not been assigning one, and maybe we could hold off on that, because I've got something to talk about the Historical Society later in the meeting.
All right.
Okay, so we've got Jimmy Walker for Conservation, Mary Ann for CEDC, Jackson for Planning Board, Lisa for RSU 16. Great.
And there's one that's missing, so the broadband committee, that's a fairly new committee. So I'm currently the liaison on the
Okay.
Poland
Yeah.
broadband committee.
All right, so you're,
So I'd be happy to continue with that.
sure.
And just a side note on the historical, if you're, depending what you're gonna say about that, I would be willing to,
Okay,
so why don't we just go ahead and do that?
great. Okay, we filled the board and committee assignments.
And then next, we're discussing the certified ratio. Rob, right?
Yes,
Thanks for joining us again.
absolutely, absolutely. Rob Duplessis, RJD Appraisal, we're your assessing agent. We've been here for quite some time. I was thinking in the chair back there, I got started here in '93. And there was a brief time that there was another assessor that lives in town that did the same thing. And we've been back since maybe 2015, 16, something like that. So Zeb, one of my agents, he's the one that's usually here on a day-to-day basis, so. But one of the things we have to do is, we get a report card from the state of Maine every year, letting us know what what the certified ratio is. And the way they calculate that is, when they do their state valuation, which serves a lot of purposes, partly being determining what we pay for county tax, school tax. In that document is a report based on our historical assessed values that haven't changed but one time since the reval that was done in 2012, I think, when I wasn't here. So we keep the same values every year, and then we have to file with the state every year what our values are on the property that's sold. They do a ratio study, and the results of that ratio study, our assessments have to be on average 70% or above market value to keep us within standard. We're allowed to go to 110, but that's really not the worry here. But we are failing these 70%. We had the same conversation a couple of years ago where we were failing. And we do have a contract for a full revaluation, but that's not for a couple of years in the future. So the best thing to do, I suggest, is the same thing we did 2 years ago. Do a sales study of our own, come up with a factor to apply to all property, uniformly, land and buildings, to put us in compliance again. And what that will do will be, well, pushing the same value for everybody, land and buildings, you're not gonna get a tax shift. If you do a full comprehensive evaluation, you could have, from old assessments to new assessments, the value of buildings may go up higher than land, waterfront may go up higher than off water, and you get a shift in tax burden. It really causes a lot more of us to explain what we did, defend what we did, and this isn't a full project like that. So I'm really strongly suggesting that you authorize me to take the time to come up with another factor.
So,
Because-
pardon me, Bob,
Yeah.
so you're gonna look at the value of homes and businesses in town, come up with a new valuation for the town, but everybody's gonna increase by the same amount, so you're not gonna have this disproportionately applied to residents.
Right.
The amount of tax that people pay will not change. It's just the way that is calculated, the mill rate will go down. And the other reason that we want to do this is not just because the state tells us to, but because our homestead and Betty reimbursements are tied to the valuation of the town. So we adjust the certified ratio closer to what the actual valuation should be. We can get the appropriate amount of funds from the state.
Exactly. Yep, yes, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, changing these values in this way, that won't affect anybody's bill. What the spending will be coming up this year would have effect, but it'll be equal for everybody. So I think it's, a lot of the towns that I work in are doing this just because the market is rapidly inflating. and we only have a 30% window to play with. And I just looked at the report when I was sitting down, over the last year in Chicago County as a whole, we had an 8.5% increase in property sale value. I think we have more than that here because of the diverse types of property that we have. Very desirable to be here, it's supposed to be further out in the county. But we'll look at just sales in town, come up with a number to come back and show the board what it would be, what it wouldn't be, in time for commitment. And my fee for that is the same as it was a couple of years ago. Won't be a lot of work, and I think it's a good way of.
So you will come back and tell us that when? The first meeting in August?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And that will be, it's typically when we commit taxes, the first meeting in August.
We'll show you what factor we apply, how it affects everybody. The only thing I will have to be aware of is this really high, strong market is driven by residential sales, not commercial sales. And I just have to make sure that when I apply that factor uniformly, that I'm not going to systematically overvalue a particular property, or more particularly, a class of properties. I think we did end up doing this last time where all of residential buildings, residential land went up the same, commercial land went up the same. Some of those commercial buildings that were specialized, I had to be very careful that we didn't over-assess them. That's the only way they'll allow.
So Rob, clarify your statement up front when you said failing. What do you mean we failed?
The minimum assessing standard is 70%,
Right.
and
So
our
how-
assessment right now is 66.
So why is that? Can you kind of
Well,
explain that?
we haven't changed our values for the last couple of years now. When we set the value, when we factored last year, we went to be able to certify 85%. So over the last 2 years, the values in town have gone up by that 19%
Right.
to get us to that feelings. Because we don't change assessments every year.
Oh, so failing because we didn't reach the 70%.
Because we didn't reach the 70.
Okay, got it, okay.
And there is a financial penalty that the state will assess us for that. For every point we're below 70, they will withhold 10% of our tree growth reimbursement, which we've got a fair amount of acreage in tree growth here in this town. And that's the teeth behind, they can't mandate anything else except for holding back those funds. I mean, we may get $20,000, $30,000 a year, and if we kept on going, we'd be losing that reimbursement from the state, so.
And the other question I have is, you said commercial, residential, and properties that include water as well?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So last year, you said that there were a couple of properties that were specialized that couldn't, how did you solve for that last year? Do you recall what we ended up doing?
Well, we have to, I mean, how do we do it?
Yeah.
90%.
The goal is like to raise everyone at the
Right.
same rate so that we're not seeing a shift in tax burden.
But my main focus, I always have to remember that whatever system we put in place, it is illegal to systematically overvalue a property or a class of properties. So if I apply the factor blindly and not realize that all the downtown commercial properties, when you look at their new value after the factor is applied, it's more than what they're selling for. That's what we have to avoid. But it's very quick, we do this quite often. The factor on those specialty buildings maybe was 5 or 10% less than we applied to everybody else. You didn't really see any difference at all, because we get new growth every year with all the new construction, so it kind of was at a wash. But it may not happen this time, it's just something I have to be aware of.
And so the state's really dictating what our town is worth, and how accurate is that?
It's accurate as it can be for their own purpose. The other thing about this, the numbers we receive from the state to get us at 66% for 2025, those are 2023 sales.
Right.
It's done that way. The state valuation isn't, except for letting us know that we could be failing, the only purpose it has is use their system to develop a full value of every town in the state. So it's from that value determines our school payment and our county tax.
Right.
So when you add, they don't even,
I was wondering, I was just curious if you had visibility into that data, like how granular does it get? Like, do you see a value by property, or is it
no,
just
it's
very
very,
low
it's
level?
very, very general. Like, so they'll take, we have it here, we have the results here, but there'll be, let's say there's, as far as real estate, there's probably 6 categories. And a lot of it starts with our values. So if, when the report comes in, they'll say, all right, locally you have $115 million of residential buildings. Your ratio is 66%. So they'll assume that that 115 million, they're gonna bring it from 66% up to 100%, okay? They'll say you have 3,200 house lots in town that are valued at X, again, 66%, and they'll go up. After that, all the rear land in town and all the rear land in the entire county is assessed at the same per acre value for the state. That's their version of fair. If they have enough information to break down commercials and the commercial ratio is different than the residential ratio, they'll apply that residential ratio to that. They'll apply the commercial ratio to the commercial properties. So you could see a subtle difference, same way with waterfront. So it's very generalized, broken down into those categories, but they have it all here. So at the end of the day, usually when the market isn't as hot it is now, they'll run about the same number. But if we're gonna shoot for what I'm gonna say is 85% of today's market value, we're gonna have a state valuation that's 2 years old. So we expect it to be less than ours.
We should have that, we should have that valuation at least 15 years ago. You've got houses right here in Poland that are, right on McGuire Hill, that, there's a few up there that are pushing the $1 million mark. And the valuation should have gone, we've been basing for the last 10 years at 100,000. I mean, you've got houses here that are 150,000, $200,000. And we should have stepped in then and pushed the valuation up. I know some of the other surrounding towns had to do it because of the school.
I don't need a vote on this because we took care of that last time. Rob will be at our next meeting.
Yeah.
But I'll give you the agreement here tomorrow,
Okay.
and we're ready to move forward with adjusting the certified ratio. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you,
Rob.
Rob.
And I'll talk
for
to
the
the,
information.
talk to the office about getting some remote access.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank
Russ.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Steve, I'm sorry I didn't
Oh, we
acknowledge
brought
that
just
you came to visit us.
Just here to witness that.
You might wanna stay here for a little longer to bring some sense.
That's what that was, right? I thought
Yeah,
it was.
it is.
So next is, we just need to set a date for the governance policy public hearing.
So at the last meeting, we had a public hearing on the governance policy, and we talked about making some changes in consultation with Mary Ann. We've made those changes, we just need to bring that back before the public and recommend that we do that, pardon me, at the July 15th select board meeting. So I don't think we, I think we just, I don't
Need a
think we
motion
need,
for that?
I think we're okay.
We're okay?
Uh,
Need a motion
Public hearing.
for a public
Oh.
hearing?
To set the date.
All right,
I move we set the date for the public hearing for the governance policy, public hearing, I apologize if I just said that twice, for July 15th, the next select board meeting.
Have a second?
Second?
Timmy Walker,
Yes.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
Jackson Lerner.
Yes.
All right, we set the public hearing for the governance policy for July 15th at the beginning of the next select board meeting.
Thank you. Next on the list is the Rain Pond Grant Steering Committee.
And so the president of the Rankin Pond Association contacted me. They've done this watershed survey, which was a big effort on their part. They received a grant, Section 319 grant funds, and they are looking to establish a steering committee to have some oversight over how they're going to do that, and wanted to offer a member of the select board the opportunity to be part of that process. It's not a big time commitment. They'll probably have a meeting later this year, and then maybe 3 to 4 meetings per year during the 2-year grant administration period. But, you know, I gotta give them their due, that's a heavy lift to get that watershed survey done, and they're moving forward with a pretty complex grant that'll do a lot to mitigate various sorts of non-point source pollution and other water runoff that's going into the lake.
I wouldn't mind volunteering for that. I actually received a mailer from the Ring Pond Association today, because I live not on the lake, but I'm across the road. I'm probably, I know I'm in that watershed area.
Yeah.
And I also want to mention that their annual meeting's coming up soon. So they always meet
Yes.
on the last Sunday in July, and so that's coming up on July 27th.
At the town hall.
Yeah, at the town hall.
So is this gonna be looking into people's properties and seeing what's coming off their property into the water?
Yeah, it's, but it's not, they can't direct people to do anything. What they will do are things like, they'll go around and they'll say, Jackson, you live on the lake, can we come take a look at your land? They'll do that and they'll say, hey, if you take these 3 steps, you're gonna reduce runoff going into the lake.
Gotcha.
And that's what they're trying to avoid, because you bring a lot of phosphate into the lake. When you do that, you're promoting algae growth. They'll also look at other non-point source pollution, which is a fancy way of saying runoff. It's not coming from one particular point. And they'll do some other water stewardship things, but the folks at Thompson Lake have done this for years. It's a great program, and I think this is a good thing for the town that the Ring Pond Association is doing. Okay, I don't think we need a vote for that one,
Right.
because we just,
Yeah.
but I will let, it's John, I forget his last name, nice guy, but I will put you in email contact with him and let you guys know that, let him know that you're the representative.
Unless anyone else interested or has any concerns with that?
Real concerns.
No, consider that. What about this runoff?
I will add that I actually attended their annual meeting last year just to listen in and get some information, and they are a great group of people.
Yeah.
Very well organized, very respectful of each other's properties when they went into the whole survey thing. I was very impressed with them.
So I'll make a point to also be there at the meeting, and I think it's really open to the public. You know, it's not restricted to anybody. If anyone else is interested, has questions, or are willing to learn more about what they're doing.
Do we know when they're meeting?
July 27th, I forget what time of day it is.
I forget to. It's on the mailer at home. I meant to bring it. So next on the agenda is Historical Society meet and greet.
So I've been talking to the president of the Historical Society, and they're a lot more energized than they were a few years ago. They are looking at the Historical Society as a good thing for the town, to promote interest in the town, give people an opportunity to learn about Poland, particularly people in school. They've had a number of events, talks, and other things that are of interest, and they're open, Thursdays, I forget the hours, but there's somebody here, you'll see the open sign, open flag out there, and what they would like to do is invite the select board to attend before next week's meeting at 6:30, or the next meeting on the 15th at 6:30 at night, just to come over in the schoolhouse, and anybody else, if you want to go, Art, you could, would be welcome to attend, but just to come in, meet the folks in the Historical Society, have them tell you a little bit about what they would like to do, and if you have not had a chance to be inside the old schoolhouse and the barn, that's a great opportunity. It's pretty cool, and if the board's okay with that, I'll let John know, And I'll send a reminder out before the, and he said he'd have lemonade.
Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty sweet, huh?
Yeah, sweet lemonade.
Okay, thank you. I will set that up and let everybody know.
Now, is this gonna go along with me volunteering? Is that the same
That's the same group,
group?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a great chance to meet the
Yeah.
folks.
Thank you. Payables, so we don't have Stan here anymore. That was his.
I'm ready to rock, let's do this.
You're up,
I
Vice
say,
Chair.
I say we make a motion to pay our bills for the fiscal year 2025 totaling in $434,918.32.
Second,
Jimmy seconded.
Okay, Jimmy Walker,
yes.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Mary Ann Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Holly,
Yes.
Jackson Bernard, you
Yes.
agreed to pay the payables.
So, any other business or anything else that anyone wants to bring up, starting with you, Jimmy?
I'm good.
Anything else?
Good.
John?
I'm good.
I think I'm good. I was just gonna mention the annual meeting for the Rain Pond Association, we already talked about that. I also wanted to give you all a heads up that, the CEDC, it does, is doing another working session. Originally it was gonna be next July, but with new members, wanted to give you a little bit more advance notice, plus they have some, irons in the fire with different things that they're working on, so we're pushing that out to August, and, tentatively looking at the second week of August. That might change once, but they're gonna confirm that at the next CEDC meeting, we'll let you all know.
Okay.
That's all for me.
All right. I just wanted to mention, and I attended the Poland Spring Resorts fireworks and the celebration last night. It was wonderful. The Larry Williams Band played, and of course, I'm a little partial to the trombonist. But it was a really, really great turnout, and I'm quite sure the fire rescue people ran out of food. The line that was waiting, so it's a lovely community event.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
No, I'm good.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Great. Motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, Jimmy Walker,
Yes.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Lisa, Mary Ann Hawks,
Yes.
Lisa Holly.
Yes.
Jackson Leonard. We are
Yes.
adjourned.